Hello friends, I'm now in the third trimester. Yay! So as of today, I am 28 weeks, and in this video, I just wanted to give an update on how the second trimester went. Second trimester was a breeze. Everyone says it's the best trimester, and I think they're probably right. I mean, I haven't been through the third trimester yet, but everyone says you start to get uncomfortable once your belly gets really big. I think there are different systems for dividing up the trimesters, but the app that I'm using defines the second trimester as the beginning of week 14 through the end of week 26. So that's what I'll be talking about today. So in terms of symptoms, there really haven't been that many, but I finally understand the whole needing to pee thing. When I was in the first trimester, I was reading a lot about how other women would complain about needing to pee so often starting in the first trimester, and that really wasn't the case with me. I mean, I do pee often anyways, so it didn't feel any more frequent than usual. Beginning of the second trimester, I get it. It's not just having to pee more often, but it's feeling like you need to pee really bad, and then when you do go pee, like there's not that much liquid that comes out. And since your bladder is squished and it can't hold as much liquid as before, you do end up going to the bathroom more often. So that's kind of been a universal thing throughout the entire second trimester for me. In terms of other symptoms, there have really only been a few, and they haven't been that frequent either. So it's been like a one-time thing or maybe a handful of times. So for example, when I was 17 weeks, there was one morning when I woke up and my left thumb felt numb. And I had never had this before. And at first I thought maybe my thumb, like I had just slept on it a weird way and it fell asleep or something. But the feeling persisted, and it wasn't painful, but it was just a strange feeling because it feels like when one of your limbs goes numb, and it wasn't getting better. So I was worried about that because I didn't know if it was like a sign that something was wrong. So I Googled, and when I Googled numb thumb pregnancy, it turns out that lots of pregnant women experience carpal tunnel syndrome, which I did not know. And I had never had carpal tunnel syndrome before. So this was surprising to me, and also because I was only 17 weeks pregnant. So after reading up about it and like hearing that, oh, lots of pregnant women experience this, all of those sites were like, oh, don't worry. In most cases, it'll go away after the baby is born. So I thought that I was going to have a numb thumb for like the next 5-ish months, which, like I said, it wasn't painful, but it was just a very odd sensation and slightly inconvenient. So my thumb felt numb for the entire rest of that day. Oh, and the reason why they say that it's more common in pregnant women is because during pregnancy, your body there's just a lot more fluids and a lot more swelling. And so if you have like some swelling or fluids in your wrist, it can put pressure on a nerve that runs through your wrist, and then that can cause the sensation of numbness or sometimes discomfort or pain as well. But in my case, I was lucky because it only lasted for that one day. I mean, it lasted all day, all evening. And then I went to bed, and then the next morning, the numbness had disappeared. So I think maybe that one night I had just slept on it weird, or maybe it was just random extra swelling in my wrist. But the next morning I woke up and it was gone, and so I was really relieved about that. And it hasn't come back since then, knock on wood. Maybe it'll come back in the third trimester. So anyway, that's a thing, carpal tunnel syndrome in pregnancy. For any pregnant woman that has it, at least it's comforting to know that it should go away once you're no longer pregnant and like all of the swelling and excess fluid retention goes away. The second one-time symptom that I had was Braxton Hicks contractions. At least I think that's what they were. But since this is my first time going through all these symptoms, I could be wrong. So this was during week 20, and it was in the morning, and I started feeling some mild cramping. It wasn't that painful. It was very mild for me, but I had them over a period of maybe like an hour or so. So I was worried about the baby, and again, I Googled, And I looked at what were the different possible options for what can cause cramping or discomfort in your stomach region. And the main suggestions that popped up were miscarriage, Braxton Hicks contractions, or round ligament pain. I didn't think it was round ligament pain because I had experienced it before, I think. More on that in a minute. And I had reason to hope that it wasn't miscarriage because I didn't have any bleeding when I went to the bathroom. And even though they were like crampy sensations, they were really mild. So I read more about Braxton Hicks contractions, which at first I didn't think it was possible because I know that women typically tend to experience them close to their due date, and I was only 20 weeks at the time. But the source that I read said that they can actually start as early as 20 weeks. So the suggestions that I read were to try changing position to see if the cramps would go away, and also to eat or drink something because sometimes dehydration can be a trigger for Braxton Hicks contractions. And I was reading about this when it was almost lunchtime, and so then I drank a lot of water with my meal, and after that the cramping did go away. So I think they were Braxton Hicks contractions, but I was surprised that you can get them as early as 20 weeks. And now I'm 28 weeks and I haven't had them since that one time. So I think it's possible that I had them that morning because I hadn't drank enough water that morning. But anyway, since then I have been conscious about drinking a lot of water in the morning because that's usually when you're most dehydrated. Okay, there are two other symptoms that I've had that I have experienced a handful of times each. The first is round ligament pain, and I only experienced it maybe between 5 to 8 times during weeks 16 through 18, and it wasn't that painful for me, but sometimes I would change position and then I would feel like a pull in my pelvis region, but the pain would go away immediately, and it wasn't even that painful. It was more of just like mild discomfort. So, and I only had it a few times, so I wasn't really worried about it. Then the next type of pain that I experienced a handful of times was lightning crotch. And I experienced it maybe, again, 5 to 8 times between weeks 21 through 26. Now, originally I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was round ligament pain still, but the sensation was very different. And I had read about lightning crotch before, but I didn't think that was what I had because I didn't feel it in the crotch area. For me, I don't know, it's kind of hard to pinpoint because it comes so quickly, but I just knew that I felt it in my belly region. So initially I didn't think that was what I had, but then once I read the descriptions of it, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. So for me, it's not really painful, but it's intense, and sometimes it takes my breath away or it makes me gasp, but it's not painful. It just feels like, you know how when you hit your funny bone and you have like this tingling or pins and needle sensation? That's what it feels like. But again, it doesn't really feel painful to me. It's just very startling because it comes very quickly and for no reason, and then it leaves just as quickly. It's literally just like a split second. I don't know, maybe I'll get worse during the 3rd trimester, but from what I've experienced so far, it's not a big deal. It's just takes you by surprise when it happens. Oh, one other one-time symptom that I had was feelings of dizziness. It happened to me during my 23rd week, and it was when we were at an outdoor market, and I had the sensation that you get when you feel like you're about to pass out and your ears go kind of weird, like your sense of hearing gets kind of muffled and you feel warm and lightheaded. And since we were at the outdoor market, there wasn't any seating or anything, so what I did was I knelt down like I was pretending to tie my shoe, except that I was wearing flip-flops. So I just knelt down, bent my head over, and pretended like I was going through my purse, and then waited for the feelings of lightheadedness to subside, and then after that I was fine. So again, that was just like a one-time thing, but I know that pregnant women are more likely to experience dizziness or lightheadedness. And the last symptom that I have experienced as of a couple of weeks ago is that my appetite has increased. So I get hungry more frequently and I've been having snacks more often. But yeah, those are all the symptoms that I've had. I do feel really fortunate because when I read online about other women's experiences, I know there are a lot of symptoms that women tend to have during the second trimester that I have not experienced yet. So things like having trouble sleeping or having swelling in your feet and your hands, or leg cramps, constipation, hemorrhoids, acid reflux, or heartburn. I know some women start getting them as early as the second trimester. It's likely that I will experience them in the third trimester. But so far, I've just been enjoying a very easy, comfortable, happy pregnancy. I haven't gotten any stretch marks yet, although I expect that I will get them at some point because I know that most women do, and my mom got them. And I have stretch marks on my thighs, but then they just fade away and they're not really that noticeable. So, oh, and I haven't had any cravings either. I thought that was like a very standard pregnancy thing, but I like all the same foods as I did before I was pregnant, and I never have like an overwhelming desire for any one specific food. So maybe I'll get them in the third trimester, or maybe I'll just go through this entire pregnancy without having any cravings. Okay, highlights of the second trimester. The entire trimester was a highlight because it was all just so fun and exciting. But the number one highlight for me was definitely feeling the baby move. So when I was 17 weeks, there was one day where I was like, could that have been a movement? But I'm not sure. And then at 18 weeks, I definitely felt the baby move. And the first time that it happened, I was lying on the bed on my side on my phone or something, and it felt like a muscle twitch or a muscle spasm in my stomach. And I was like, I think that was the baby because I was lying still and I've never had like a muscle spasm in my stomach before when I'm just lying down. And then it happened the next day and the next day and the next day. So I was like, okay, this is definitely the baby moving. But initially, I didn't feel that often. So it only happened like once a day, and it'd only be 1 or 2 movements. And I would also only feel it if I were sitting really still or lying down. And then I would feel something. Sometimes it felt like something was moving inside of me, and sometimes it would feel like a muscle spasm. But if I were active or moving around, I could never feel any baby movements. So basically from week 18 onward, I would feel the baby move every day, and the movements would become more frequent over time. And I also started to feel different types of movements. So initially, I could only feel the ones that were like when the baby was kicking or punching outwards. And this was still early on when like your uterus is relatively low, so I would mostly feel them on my lower stomach region, like beneath the belly button. And then at like weeks 21 onward, I started to notice different sensations where it wouldn't be like a punch or a kick. It would feel more like a roll or a turn or a stretch or a wiggle or something like that. And also at week 21, TJ got to feel the baby move for the first time, and it was so cute when it happened. So we were sitting on our couch with his uncle and his cousin. They were all watching soccer or football, depending on which country you're from. And I was next to TJ on the couch, and I had been feeling the baby move, like multiple movements. And when I put my hand on my stomach, I could feel it through my hand and my stomach. So I put TJ's hand on the area where the baby was kicking, and there were like the first 2 or 3 times I would feel a movement internally and ask him, did you feel that? And he would say no. And then there was one time when baby gave a big kick, and like before I even had a chance to say anything, TJ turned to me like with a really surprised, questioning look in his eyes, and I was like, yeah, that was a big kick. So since then, he has felt the baby move many times, and sometimes he'll like wake up before me and he'll put his hand on my stomach, so I'll like wake up because his hand is on my stomach, And usually baby is pretty active in the morning too, so a lot of times he'll feel baby kick first thing in the morning. These past couple of weeks, the movements have definitely been more frequent, but they aren't always for like long periods of time. So sometimes I'll just feel 1 or 2 movements, and then other times it'll be like a lot of movements over a period of 5 or 10 minutes. But it varies from day to day. Like 2 or 3 days ago, she was moving a lot throughout the entire day, whereas this morning she's been relatively quiet. Another highlight is same as during first trimester, which is going to see the baby during ultrasounds. We've been lucky in that our doctor has given us a quick peek of baby at every appointment that we've been to, which I've only been to 4 appointments total, but it's been so fun seeing how much baby is growing and seeing her wriggle around in there and listening to her heartbeat. And we're just so excited to meet her. Another highlight is finally having a visible baby bump. Whenever my friends have gotten pregnant, I've always loved looking at photos of their baby bumps, and now that I finally have one myself, it's just been so fun to flaunt it and have everyone know without me even saying anything that we're gonna have a little baby. Which leads me to my last highlight, which is that people are just so nice to you when you're pregnant. Like usually strangers won't just come up to you and start a conversation, but when people see a pregnant lady, they just want to come over and congratulate you and ask you how many months you are and ask if you're having a girl or a boy. And even though they're strangers, they're just sharing in your excitement and happiness, and it's been really fun. So yeah, that's about it. Second trimester has been so nice. I feel like I can still carry on with my regular life, like no problem sleeping or doing any of my usual activities. I went to Zumba last week and my mom asked me like, oh, are you feeling heavy yet? Like, does it feel heavy carrying around that baby bump? And honestly, it doesn't feel any different. I don't know if it's because it's happening so gradually, but today I actually did hit the 10 kilo mark. So I am now 10 kilos heavier than I was at the start of pregnancy. And today is also a milestone because baby is now 1 kilo according to my app. So I'm carrying more weight, but it doesn't feel any different yet. I know that'll change soon. I guess there are some ways in which the bump is starting to get in the way. For example, leaning over to pick stuff up isn't as easy or as comfortable as it used to be, and like getting out of bed in the morning, but everything is still easy at this point. So I'm really trying to savor these moments because I know things are going to get a lot more difficult in the coming weeks and months. I guess I'll update you more on that in my next update video. So before I end this video, a quick bump shot. Here is my 6-month belly, which it's still so crazy to me that at the end of the first trimester, I didn't look pregnant yet. And now I definitely look pregnant, but the bump still isn't that big. And then like you see women when they're 8 or 9 months pregnant and they look like they have a watermelon in their shirt. And it still seems so crazy to me that your belly can grow that much that quickly. But I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
ตัดยังไงดีตัดต้นนี้เลยหรือว่าตัดต้นนี้เลยดีกว่านะตัดตรงนี้เลยนะ
โอเคพี่แน่ใจนะว่ายางกล้วยจะไม่โดนเสื้อพี่ว้ายรับว้าวพี่ว่ากี่กิโลว้าขอบคุณมากค่ะ
ลูกนี้น้องเอาไหม
เอาก็ได้
เอาไป ลูกนี้ล่ะ
ให้